I have no chat. Hello, everybody. I don't know if it's in. I don't know why this isn't working. That didn't work. That works. Let's see. Oh, you crumba. Oh, YouTube. I don't know what. Okay, cool. I guess I'm in. I guess I'm live. I don't know. There's the chat. I see the chat there now. Somebody's in. So if you have questions, I think I'm also in the Discord. I was trying to set Discord up. I need to figure that out. In the OPCD. So if there are questions that anybody wants to ask vocally, verbally, jump in. Oh my goodness. Travis Simon Land. I am working on the grasses. So in case anybody is asking, I'm working on my grasses. I've not done my sat shader yet. So as you can see, if I disable grasses here, this is just the normal satellite imagery. I'm going to start working on my sat shader in a little bit and see if I can blend it all together. But for right now, I've just been working on making sure that I create a random, like I feel like there's too much tiling with this green in this grass right here. Up close, I think it looks pretty decent, but I do think there's a little too much tiling. So I'm working on tweaking some of the grass colors. Let's look at that darker green one. I like having some darker green. Oh, that was the wrong one too. That was a tree. Yep. I like having some darker green, but that's not making much of a change. Let's see. Am I not seeing much of a change in my GSPro grasses? Come on. Let's get down here to grass level. Let's see. I don't remember. I don't do a good job of naming my grasses. Hey, Bear. All right, great question. Do I sat shade everything? Typically so far, I've used the base materials once they've been swapped in Unity. Use the base materials. So this is how I do it. Again, I don't know if it's the right way to do it. I sat shade everything. Let me turn GSPro off for 1 second to get a look without grasses. So this is the default sat shader. As you can see, it has all of the, trees and everything. I'm not taking anything out of here. I will use this entire sat shader, but what I do is, let me load up Photoshop. Since sat shader sounds like it's going to be a topic, let me just close this for 1 sec, and I'm going to let me bring up a different sat shader. Hold on 1 second. Hopefully you guys can see my screen. This isn't working. Oh. I'm looking at the chat and I paused. Okay, good. So hopefully you can see my my Photoshop that's up right now, because I was sharing the whole screen now. And I'm going to grab this sat shader for right now. This is one that I'm currently working on, which is this one is where's my OBS? There it is. This one is Cherry Hills. So let me take off a few filters real quick. Sorry, turn that off and turn off my hue filter. So this is like a normal sat shader that I've already. Matter of fact, if I hide that, there is the normal sat shader. that I have. And you can tell by the way it's really green. It's way too green for what I want to do. This is not, you can't use it in, I'll load it up and show you in a second, but I can't use it like this in Unity. It's too bright, it's too green, and it makes my head hurt. So obviously in Photoshop we work non-destructively, so this is the base one. So let me, this is the clone stamp version of it. You can see where I've removed trees and I've removed everything out. And then, so this is normal clone stamping, and like, I don't know what this is. I'm sure they're doing some sort of testing or whatever. I don't know what this is. So I've got to clone stamp this out. So I'll probably come in over here and grab my clone stamp and, you know, just take all this out and get rid of all this crap. I don't know. I'll look at it in game and see, do I want to make it match this stuff over here? Or do I want to leave it as a separate like dark area? But I don't like all of the lines, and I don't know what it is that they have on this course. And to be honest, I don't want people hitting their ball over there anyway. So we'll just clone stamp some of that out. And then I can't see the chat now. Why is my chat missing on my thing? Hold on. Docs, let's go over here and see. Okay, so anyway, so I'll clone stamp out this just for here, just for grins. I'll get the cart path out as well. And then, so what I did do, by the way, you can see, I did use my Inkscape shapes. So over here, I've got my Inkscape shapes for T's, for example, or my T's, here they are. And I did do the normal, grab my magic wand, I grabbed them, turned them off clone state, went back here, and then I clone stamped these, so they stayed within here. But what I do really like is that the, let me turn off that. Thank you. Is that like with one sat shader, this is all going to blend pretty nicely. I sometimes will blur it. I'll do a blur tool along the edge here, just get rid of, because you can see there's some of the pixelation here. So I will also come in before I'm done and go over here to the where's my blur tool? Hold on a second. I made the icon small, and I don't know. Here it is, blur tool. And I'll come back down to my clone stamp. Sorry, that's a big blur tool. I don't need it that big, so I'll make it smaller. There you go. And I'll a lot of times just kind of blur this along the edge here so that it blends in nicely on the sat shader. It's hard to tell. I mean, you can see that it's softening the lines a little bit. So I'll do this along this T-box, so I get a nice little blur. Then what I will do is I will add in colorization. So the first thing I've got is I want to make it, to me, for my eye, I want to make this less bright green, a little more dark green. I want to add some browns and maybe even add a little blue into it. I feel like the blue and brown are missing out of this. It feels like it's very green and yellow, and I even see a little bit of red in it. And so what I'm trying to do is tweak that. So the first thing I do is I'll come in here and I've already tweaked these colors a little bit. So I'm using this base texture, this color at about a, what's the opacity on? About 40% opacity. Okay, and then I've got a hue and saturation one that I put on top of it as well. And this one, as you can see, if I go in, okay, I want to do it that way. Thank you, Photoshop, for not following me. There we go. I moved this from the green. I added a little more red. I added a little more blue into it. So like I was talking about, is adding those colors. And so now what I have is what I feel like is a more natural looking. It's not perfect. I still think the greens are a little bit bright. And what I'll do is I'll turn those down a little bit inside of Unity. And so, but yes, I generally would do the entire, go back to the original question there, sorry. I do the entire thing in Sat Shader, except for, depending upon the course, the outer. I'll probably leave the outer where it is. I may Sat Shader the outer as well, but like, I don't care so much about the outer. Sometimes I just pick a spot, like for here, see this area around the course where there's this like road is a barrier. I will probably clone stamp that out with some sort of like, you know, texture like in here, or I may import a texture. Like I've got a couple textures up here. I may come in here and use this grass texture that I have right here, and then clone stamp this. I can actually opacity that down as well. You can bring that back down to like a 10% opacity and add a little grass yellow texture on top. You see it's way too big, and so I would undo that one. And so I would clone stamp the outer area where I'm going to put houses and stuff, just so it looks like there's yards or something there. But yes, I would clone stamp this whole thing, and then what I end up with is, if I go to my Unity hub and I load this course up, give me 1 second. I left my water. My son is still watching. You can bring me my water bottle. I'd appreciate that. And on my other monitor, Unity is loading, and I'll bring it over here. Come on. Hazel Rocket's live. He's not allowed to go live at the same time I go live. Okay, Unity is loaded. Let me move it over here. So Bear, hopefully you can see my Unity now. And for right now, I'm going to turn off 3DG. You can see I've been working on the 3DG on this one. So I'm going to turn off 3DG for right now. Where's my 3DG? Let's turn off my grass renderer. Okay, 3DG is off on most of it. Okay. And this is where I am on the course right now with that updated sat shader. So I'll show you an example. So if I go here and I put the original sat shader in, which was right here, and I had my inner, I think it was the Bing sat shader I was using. Nope, it was the Google sat shader, inner Google. Okay, so this is what it was. You can see how bright, and it just like seems too green, too yellow. Well, now what I am using is this new sat shader V1, and you can see how that got rid of all the trees, it got rid of the markings, it left all the kind of undulations, it left all the imperfections, I mean, of the grass. And then you can see where, here, let's go to that tee box that I was working on, which was this, let's see, in the Photoshop, the tee box that I blurred was this one, right? Nope, which one was it? It was this one. This one right here is where I was blurring it. Okay, so that one is, which tee box is that? It's this one right here. All right, so I think it was this tee box right here. So as you can see, I have, let me take this, I'm gonna go File, I'm gonna export this as, it'll take a second, and then I'm gonna export the whole thing to my course builds, Cherry Hills. Now I'm gonna put this inside my main project and my assets. If I go to my terrain backup folder, and then inside I have a sat shader folder, and I'm gonna replace this V1. So replace it. You wanna replace the one you're using, because then Unity, when I go to Unity, it'll take a second, will update, and there you go. So now you can see everything is using the same V1. So if I looked at this material, it's using the V1 sat shader. The blend is using the semi is using it. The blend is using it. They're all using it. And so now when I blur between here, it blurs it across the different materials because I'm using the same sat shader for all of it. And I end up with this look like this. So this is how this is looking. And then I come in here and I drop my 3DG on it. Oops. My grass renderer, which I've not put on this one yet, I don't think. Nope. And then the material that I'm using is the default no mow line sat. Drop that on there. I think that's right. Rough no mow line sat. And you can see I'm still working on the density and stuff. You can see my 3DG is, if I come over here, here's some 3DG that I have on the walk path. You can see. So it's a little hard to see on Unity right here, but that's how I'm doing my sat shader. Any questions? Does that make sense? I've got a river to put in here. I got a ram spline. I think I had him in. Where'd my ram spline go? Nope, I guess not. So I need to put a ram spline in here. You can see I sat shadered that, obviously. I probably won't. I'll change that. but I need to go game object, 3D object, create river spline, and we'll just start. I'll tweak it all later, and just boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I know you don't like. Put my creek in here. I did, in case. I don't like the way that works. We'll see. I'll have to play with it a little bit. I did manually do the terrain work here for this creek. I couldn't get it to. I couldn't get it to look properly with the tools in Blender, so I literally came in here and carved it out in Unity, in terrain in Unity, and then did some smoothing in Blender to get this. Because if you, on this course, if you were to go look at the the pictures in real life, man, this creek is right up the right side of the #1 fairway, and the rough literally flows right into the creek. So there is no deep rough area. It is, if you hit the ball to the right and it bounces in the rough, it's going to go in the water. So I wanted that really, really tight connection between the course, the rough and the water. And I couldn't quite get that look I was going for without manually doing the terrain work on it. All right, so this one's almost done. And I'll actually have to tweak this manually. Boom, drop this one down. And then let's see if I can lower it down one and see. Whoops, if I can lower it down one. That's too much. Let's lower it down 0.2. No, 0.5. Yeah, 5 looks good for now. And then I want to go to RAM spline, and then I like the which one do I like? Yeah, I know it's river. But I know it says it's for a river, but I don't want a road. I usually start with one of these. Small stream is probably the right one to look at, the small stream profile. But it's too clear. I don't want that, and I have to change this. Obviously, this is not what I want this to be, because that does not need to be that sat shader. Obviously, you want to see through. So then you come into the RAM spline, and then I need to work on depth, and I have to tweak all these. So I can work on my water depth. And I'll be honest with you, some of this is me just playing with these sliders. I don't really fully understand. I know what they do, but I don't remember. There's so many different sliders on here. So I tend to just tweak sliders until things look the way I look, and then Control Z if I need to untweak them. Like, I don't need it to look, like that looks silly. Like that. The flow is way too fast. You can see how fast. It's supposed to be a really lazy. So the top one, that's not one, so 0.05. So I play with these a little bit. It's the main water speed, maybe. No, it's the caustics on top that's moving too fast. It's that white foam, it's the caustic on top. And I can't remember, is that mix or is that the caustics? Hold on. Where is that? I think it's the caustics down here. Where is the... somewhere, foam speed, I think it's in here. No, that foam is on the edge, and caustic, if I remember, is in the middle. Let's see, it's the cascade. Yeah, and noise speed. So let's see, there it is. So let's change this to -0.05. Yeah, it seems like it's 2. So I play around with these a little bit and just kind of slow it down until I get it to where it's a speed that I think looks good. And the color, I need to play with it as well. So yeah, there's too many, dude. There's too many. I mean, I know there's not too many settings, but there's too many for me to remember all the different settings on them. Sometimes when I get it nice, I'll go back, I'll load up that course and I'll just copy and paste the settings from that RAM spline. I still think that's not foam. Why is it going so Could be up here. So I just play around with them to see. I'm not perfect with it. Big cascade. Here's some of it right here. Smoothness, and so I'll mess with this here and kind of play with these. So sorry, but I know I digress. But that's kind of how I do Sat Shader. But I like personally the whole course being covered in a Sat Shader. I just love it because it blends. Everything blends from rough. I mean, you can see with one Sat Shader, I'm blending rough to blend to semi to blend to T, all in one Sat Shader, and you get rid of a lot of the issues with, you know, excuse me, I'll show you another really cool way thing that I like to do. So for example, if I go back to Photoshop, and let's go here. So let's say I want this imperfection. So you see this imperfection here, which I love imperfections in golf courses. I love this. So let's go look at it in Unity real quick. And that is, where is that? That's a good question. That is hole. I think it's crazy how, okay, so that's hole. Where is that? I'm gonna find my way around the course. That is, where is that? I'm all blind. I get turned around. Photoshop doesn't rotate three-dimensional, so I can't remember. I'm looking at right up the middle here off number 2. So I think that's number 6. Hold on 1 second. Yep, right here. So here's a good example, okay? See how that imperfection is coming from the rough, and it's carrying it through the blend, and it's carrying it into the fairway. Like, I love that. So when the ball is flying, you're gonna see, a lot of times if you do a Sat Shader for just the fairway, you'll get a hard line where the imperfection ends and at the blend, or sometimes you'll get it in the blend, but then it ends a hard line when the rough comes in. And I just think it looks, when the ball is flying, if I turn off my gizmos, for example, so you can see, I like pretend like the ball is right here flying in, and you want to be able to see that go across the blends like it's you know, it's got a problem with. So I will sometimes overdo it, where I'll come into Photoshop here and I use their natural imperfection. So right here, which is where we were, and I'll just clone stamp it in, and I'll be like, so let me go back to clone stamp and make sure I'm on my Sat Shader, and we get a nice little small brush, and I'll just take this here and I'll add it. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't matter, you know, and just like, it's cool, it's all good. And I'll extend it out a little bit and add some grunge into it. And sometimes I'll come over here and grab, like right here, like this is a great little area. I'll go to this area over here, and I'll come over here and just like add it in over here. So you got a little imperfection there. Like, I don't like the white. I sometimes take the white squares out. And so I got a little imperfection here, like that. And then I'll just, again, you go File, Export. Where I go, File, and then Export. And export as. Yeah, I think there's a place for vert painting, and I think there's a place for Sat shading, and I think the two together can be really nice. Where I struggle, I'll show you another trick on vert painting, by the way. If you don't, do you know about vert painting and removing 3DG? There's a good question on that one. See if you know about that one. Let me go back to Unity. Unity is updating. And then there it is. So there's my, why did it hardline? Oh, because I've got the wrong one here. V1. Update material. And then the blend should also be the V1. Yep, okay. So there you go. So there, now the imperfection is from the fairway through the blend and into it. And so I love that. I think that's great. And then when you add 3DG on it, when you do Sat 3DG, okay, and I'm gonna use the same rough no mow line Sat, Oops, rough no mow lines sat. Thank you. Now your grass is picking up the same discoloration off the sat shader. And so, yeah, this is why I like this, because then you get the effect of not grasses dying and drying underneath that same dead spot underneath the ground, and it all blends together at the base with the same colors. So yeah, and so you use the black to remove it, but what I do, again, just another example, if I bring up a different course, let me think about which one. Let me bring up Denver Country Club. One second, loading another Unity up. Let's see. Yeah, I think in the hands of some very, very talented designers, you can get the same type effect using the base textures inside of Unity that we have as part of our pack. Okay, part of the base pack that we have. But I also think it takes a lot of experience and a lot of understanding of how to use those base textures, and like when you go into these materials, how to modify the textures and how to go into and change all the settings on the materials, which I don't personally have. Okay, so I don't do a lot of updating the base array, the detail array, the normal array, and all that kind of stuff of the actual materials that we have personally. And then you can go into the different texture options here and modify that. So you can get almost a very similar look by using the base textures, but I find it easier to get that effect by doing it inside of Photoshop this way. Okay, and so if I load up, where'd it go? Okay, so this is Denver Country Club. I hope you can see it. Ping me. I'm not seeing the live stream at the moment, so tell me if you can see Denver Country Club in the chat. I think you can. Should be on the right screen. Okay, so this is another sat shader, as you can see. So you can see from the sky, I did not use sat shader in this deep rough area. I wanted a grass background. And so I wanted this nice grass texture underneath the grasses there for this deep rough area. So I wasn't worried about the blend not matching because I knew I was going to overpaint. See, there's a hard line right here between the rough and this, but I was going to overpaint it anyway with grasses. So I hide that hard blend underneath the 2D grass. So unless you literally are going to fly in here and look, no one's going to see it. So I didn't care about that hard line personally. I wanted the realism of the ball. If it went in here, you were like literally sitting on that crunchy, you know, we've all had the summertime crunchy dead grass underneath the weedish type grass. So I wanted that kind of effect if the ball was there. So that's what I did there. The rest of this is all sat. So I was able to capture some of the mow lines, of the natural mow lines that they did in the summertime. The sat shader also, by the way, I use the sat shader to dictate what kind of time of year I want for the course. If I have a sat shader with nice mow lines that I could play off of, feels like it's summer, then I make the course look like a summertime thing versus try to make it an autumn course where there's no mow lines because it's covered in leaves. So I let the sat shader help do that. And then what I did was I vert painted underneath each and every, well, that's true, fair. It's spring grass in Texas. I vert painted underneath each and every tree, and I did so what I did was I changed the material on the black. So here, if I go up here to tools, and you want to go to the, or where is it? I never remember where everything is. It's underneath, here it is, underneath GSP, you can go to Material Channel Editor, okay? And so you can go to this material here, which is the, where'd my material go? Here it is. The rough no mow lines sat, okay? I'm gonna drop this in, which is the source. Actually, I put this as the target material, okay? It's gonna show you what materials are on what color, okay? And the black one is usually a different one. And what I knew I wanted to do, I knew I wanted dead spots under the trees where the leaves block the sun but I also wanted to remove the 3DG. I wanted this kind of like, you know, some sticking through is okay, but some missing is gone. So then what I did was I go and grab, for me, one thing that works a lot is I really like the pine straw, the roots, and it's roots and pine straw and roots right here, this material right here. So MAHS, pine straw and roots. I drop it into the top one, which is the source. So what I'm going to do is I'm copying the texture from the red, because I want this red texture, but I want to paint it onto the black channel of this material. So you basically say, I want to copy the red channel to the black channel. You hit copy and it copies this texture from this red channel to the black channel. Now, when I come over here and I go to vert paint, and I can show my vert painting, you know it's all red here and you can see the black. So let me hide my vert painting. Okay, I can come over here and open my vert painter. I want to paint on the black. Okay, and I'm going to come over to this area here and I can now paint roots and pine straw, kind of that dead look right there. And then when I bake it to mesh, because I use the black channel, it removes the 3DG in that area as soon as it's done processing. And now I've got a mix of, so I thinned it out, and I'm okay if some sticks through because there's always some grass that sticks through. But now I got a mix of sat shader with vert painting and removing 3DG in one kind of technique to get this look of if your ball goes. And then what I do is I come in, like this is a good example. I come in and I manually paint using GSPro, which I don't think you have GSPro. I think you're using Unity planning until Arborist comes out. But I come in here to GSPro and I manually paint in some, let's go to the default grasses. Actually, let's go to deep rough grasses. And I'll just paint in some grasses at the base of the tree. This is probably the wrong grass to put in here. And so when the ball rolls up here to this area in the rough, you get this look of, hey, yeah, the area underneath the tree is dead. It's crunchy. The grass is gone. There's some weeds growing. So it's not perfect. Versus a lot of people will do, I think I painted every single tree, so I'm trying to find one. A lot of people will just do, well here, I'll show you an example. Let's go to, with good lighting, let's go to here. Let me go, oh, you do GSPro, okay, good. So let me go here, and I'm going to go back to vert painting, open vert painting. And I'm just going to paint the red texture back on here. So let me put my flow all the way back up. Blink. I have had some issues with vert painting. Hold on. Sometimes it doesn't like to vert paint. Sometimes. Hold on. Open vert painter. Paint red. Brush size smaller. I want my flow to be much higher. And why is it not painting red? Come on. Fine, I'll go to a different spot. Some meshes, for some reason, just act funky on my systems. Let's go here. Let's go here. Go to vert painting and open vert painter, and I like red. And I would paint this all. Here we go. So this is working perfectly. So I'm going to paint this all here. Oh, I'll show you the. Okay, yeah, I'll show you that. So I'm painting this all. I will tell you, and I'll show you a couple of examples of that too. So here is I painted all back to red. If I want to, I can go in and show the vert painting. I've gotten rid of all the black. Okay, so let me. Why is it so big? Let me go smaller. Thank you. Hide vert painting. I'm going to bake this to mesh. Okay, now the 3DG is back, and then I'll go back over to GSPro. And let me go back to my manual painting. I don't remember which grass this is, but I'll delete the grass out. There it is. So a lot of people do this. They just do underneath a tree, perfect grass, perfect 3DG, perfect color, perfect everything underneath the tree. And to me, it doesn't look very realistic. I mean, it may be, but you know, most trees have dead grass around it. So All right, let's talk VS Pro. You want to talk VS Pro for a few minutes? Let me close this. We don't save that. And I'm going to bring up another course that I'm also working on. Yes, I have a bunch. Let me close this. Don't save. And let me bring up. Let me bring up this one. Let me move this off here. Uno momento. Unity is loading, so give me just a few more minutes or a few seconds for Unity to load. So I do a mix of terrain planting, biome planting, and hand planting in my courses. And this is a course where I can kind of show you most all of that. The hand planting I can show you, but I don't have it really all set yet. So I'm assuming you do biome planting. Fair? You do a lot of biome, get your VS Pro is set up like this. And you got different biomes. This course I only have 2 biomes. So just so you know, just for my own, I have, when you import the biome masks, I know you bring it in, you get these 3, the veggie mask and the biome mask. I create another folder called biomes, and I create all my biomes in there just so I have them all organized together inside my hierarchy. So, not my hierarchy, sorry, inside my project folder. That's just how I do it, just so you know, in case I go back and forth there. Now, when you set up your VS Pro, I only have, by the way, yep. So this may blow you away. You may love this, you may not love this. I have 2 biomes in here. If I go over here, you'll look, I create one called deep, I do the same, we all creatures have it. I create one that is deep rough grasses, that is the default. Then I do one that's coarse trees, that is biome 1. I do, rocks. If I've got a coarse lot of rocks, I'll create coarse rocks, biome 2. And I create different biomes for each of the different things I want to put in and kind of keep them clustered together that way. Now, I will tell you, to be honest with you, on this one, because the way I'm doing it, if you look at the coarse trees, I have 3 trees, okay? And I have grasses. All right, these grasses are the exact same grasses that are in the deep rough grasses. So here's a simple trick. If you get your coarse grasses set up right, I came over here, coarse grasses, default grasses, I right click it, I duplicate it, I rename it, then I add my trees in. Now I have the exact same grasses in 2 biomes without having to re-add them or resize them or rescale them or recolor them and do all that kind of stuff, okay? I did that for a reason because all of the grass is terrain planted, all right? So not biome planted and not manual planted. So the way to do that is, let me show you how this works, okay? I'm gonna go underneath my OPCD messages. Hopefully you can see my screen. And I'm gonna go down to the one that is highlighted, which is this one right here. I'm gonna delete this, just so you can see. So if I delete that, all my grass is gone, all right? On this mesh, okay? This is mesh terrain planting, okay? I know that I want this grass. Now the sat shader is not done yet, so it doesn't look great, but I'm working in the grass to look good. And my goal is, I drop a human height guy in here. Where'd he go? Oops, let me get my human height guy. Doink, I just drop him in. I like ankle or so deep grass. I want to be at his head level. I do this a lot. And then I just kind of look around and that green is too green, that green is too green, but I try to get the really good full look, as much as I can, knowing that the texture underneath is going to match and everything. So I'm close. I'm almost good on these grasses. Once I get this done in one area and I like the way it looks, then I'm like, I want to replicate this everywhere. So this is how I do it. There's a cool little tool underneath. If you go to, it's underneath Tools. No, sorry, it's underneath Window, Awesome Technologies, and it's called Mesh Terrain Setup Tool. Okay, so that will load this window, okay? You go to the terrain that you want, not the terrain, excuse me. You go to the mesh that you want, So I want this deep mesh that I've already flagged it when I splined it as a deep rough. I knew it was going to be deep. You drag it into here. You want to make it a child. You want to make the mesh terrain a child of the mesh. And you want to create the mesh terrain. You want to add it to the vegetation system. Okay. So that is going to add, once it's done, there it is. You see the blue popped up. Underneath this mesh, it's got this now mesh terrain, awesome technologies thing added. So you see all these little terrains have them, okay? So what I'm now gonna do is, if you go back to Vegetation Studio Pro, you have to do this under default. It has to be stuff set to plant remember, anything you put under default is gonna plant everywhere. So everything that goes in default is gonna plant everywhere that you can, okay, that you have a terrain or mesh or whatever. And then I'm gonna tell it to only plant in certain places. So for all these grasses in the default, you come down to rules and you say I wanna use terrain source rules. You wanna include it on source ID 2. So this is really cool. I can put 25 things in here and for each one say, I want this one to plant on this one, I want this one to plant on these 3, I want this one to plant on this 2. So you can mix and match how you want all these to plant. So I've set all 6 of these grasses. By the way, these are 3 grasses duplicated so I can make it look fuller but not have performance hits. And I can set different renderage distance and different scale and different size for each of it. Okay, they are all set to plant on source ID 2. So then I come back over here, I go back to that mesh, I go back to the terrain, I go back over here to the second one, which is the sources. I look at all the different sources. I can have different IDs for different terrains. Choose this one to 2, generate the terrain ID, and boom, I have now planted all of that grass aligned to that mesh that I've specified, okay? Now, I'll wait and let you say it, be like, wow, mind blown, that was cool as shit. Now, then what I do is I will come in here. You can and I will then adjust. Like this has got really nice overhang. The way I've got this set, you see how that grass? I don't want a perfect hard line between the rough and the deep here. So the grass is coming over. I did that through setting the biome, It's a huge time saver, correct? And then, but I could even come in. So say I come in here. And then, you can add, I need to add a flower, okay? So let me go back to Vegetation System Pro, all right? And let's go back to my default and let's go over here and let's find a flower. And I don't know, let's do a little white flower, I guess. I'm guessing here. Let's get this one. I'm gonna drop this in as a plant. At first, it's going to plant it everywhere, right? Because the default plants everywhere. And now what I'm going to come back is say, nope, I only want this to plant on number 2. And then I can adjust the scaling and say that that's too many. I want just little pops of it here and there. And it's too big. I want it smaller. And it's too white. Yeah, it's just like, it's too bright. I want to adjust the colors on it. And though I've now added a little pop of white flowers in it's not just there, it's everywhere that I'm using Source Terrain tool too. I can go to the other side of the course and you'll see there are the flowers. So I can make course-wide changes to vegetation by using mesh terrain planting, okay? And I didn't have to spline out all the biomes. Now I do biomes though. So for example, I will show you, you'll notice I've got all of these biomes right here, okay? And if I were to hide them, I'll show you what I'm doing. In this particular course, I'm just gonna turn them off. The way the trees are there, and I'll go up high, they're in like big clumps. This is a top of the mountain course, like it's above tree level. And all there are these like plots of trees. So what I'm doing is I'm biome planting the trees, okay? And because I duplicated the grasses from the deep are exactly replicated in the grasses in here. So now I have a uniform move from here into here, but this has all of my trees in it. So that's how I can do a mix of terrain planting, mesh terrain planting. I haven't finished up here, as you can see. Mesh terrain, so I want to go ahead and add, same thing. You go to Window, Awesome Technologies, Mesh Terrain Setup Tool, which it's this one right here. I can just drag it in here. It'll add it, and then I will just make this as a in source 2. There's my grass. I've just added grass to it. Okay. Now, lastly, in GSPro, any tree that's on the course, I manually plant everything that's on course, like trees that are in the rough, all these trees that I've not put a biome around, these trees here, I'll manually plant those, which was your original question. And the way you do that is, again, if I go back over to Vegetation Studio Pro, scroll down, the first thing you're going to want to do is create storage. I've already done it, so it's giving me a number here. It's called persistent storage. Don't name it or anything, it'll do it on its own. You will create, you'll probably have this thing, looks like this little warning sign here. Just click create storage, it'll create it, all good, no big deal, done. When you're done, you can go underneath paint vegetation. Now you can choose your different biomes. And under your biomes, let's choose coarse trees, okay? Now you're gonna get a brush. I'm gonna go in closer over here so we can play on the driving range here. You're gonna get a brush. That's too many. I don't need to plant that many. I'll show you how to delete them in a second. But I can manually plant. I can just choose how many and how I want to plant them from the planting mode down here. So the best thing that I like to do with trees is you go down here, you lower the brush smaller. I only want one item like this. Choose your tree, and now I can plant a tree. If you hold the control key down and you have that same tree selected, you can delete it. So I can come in here and manually plant trees wherever I want the trees. And then I can go do another tree. And I can go for this look, whatever look, and I can and I leave the SAT in here, which is why it's still in here. And I use the SAT for guidance on wherever I want to plant my trees. I want there. I look down on it and I just randomly grab trees. They don't have to be exact. And I just plant trees on top of where they are on the SAT. And then if I got a wrong one, then here's where it gets really cool. You can come over here and say it's off. You can actually, if I remember correctly, underneath edit vegetation right here, you now get the box where you can now drag each individual tree and move it wherever you want to. Now you have to change the tree, because if I'm on a different tree, you get different handles. And I can move it however I want. And when I'm done settings, I go back to paint, and then I can go back to the tree and I can just delete it. Just click. It's a little tricky when you do single planting. You just hold the control key down and then you can delete out. You just repaint over the ones and you can delete it back out. So I will do that with grasses too, where I can come in here and say, hey, I want to make this a really hard line. I'll go to my default grasses. I'll grab a grass. Now here I'll make the painter a little bit larger. So let's make it a little bigger, and I want my density to be a little thicker on the grass because it's 2D. And I will just come through along the edge and just paint grass. And that one may be a little bit not big enough, so I'll come in here and paint grass along the edge here. And I'll add another one in, and I can just paint. You can see I'm just painting grass. I can grab different ones and paint, and different ones and paint. And if I want to get rid of it, just hold the control key down and delete. So I manually put everything that's on my course, I manually put in everything, rocks, trees, most all grasses. I do it all by manually planting it this way through GSPro, and it's all instance, and it works on, it keeps all of the performance high. So you can see I've got almost all of my deep rough grass. I've not done billboards, don't laugh at my billboards. I've got almost all of my deep rough grasses put in. You see I've got it all the way down here. And look, my performance is like no issue. I have all this grass planted. I've got all these trees planted. And I have on the course, and I have zero performance. As you see how I'm flying around, I have zero performance issues for any of it right now. Now I'll optimize before I release the course and thin out if I need to and things like that. But that's how I use GSPro. Oh yeah, way better than native tools. Now Arborist will do most of this the same way when Arborist comes out, following very similar look and feel to it. So, but I have to jump. I've got something I've got to be at in 7 minutes, so I kind of timed this for a 1 hour kind of view. And I don't know, Bear. Thanks for coming in and asking questions. I really appreciate it. And yeah, dude, listen. Anytime you want to go one-on-one and have some help with it, just ping me. I am look at courses, any part of it, from Inkscape splining through planting grasses. You name it. Just ping me on Discord, and I'm more than happy to screen share and walk you through it with your course, or show you how I do it with my course, and kind of set you off on a path and help you get there. And if anybody else finds this useful, let me know. I'll do more of these AMAs, and people can just jump in and like ask random questions. So see you, my friend. I appreciate you. Bye, everybody.